Easy to make, fun to make, and profitable? Yeah, you're not going to want to miss this. Today we're going to make a leash hanger, and it's a fun project. So check this out. I'll blow your mind for a second. I'm looking to add some new products into my Etsy store, and I'm looking for some inexpensive items. Yeah, not everybody can afford to buy that $250 bowl. So I came up with this. I saw something on Etsy that was very similar, and I looked at the stats using my Everbee program. And if you ever want to figure out what that's all about, send me a message. But in the Everbee program, I found out that the seller has had the listing up for 22 months, and they've sold $13,400 worth of these things. That's not bad. And these are so easy to make. In a day, you could crank out a bunch of these things. So here's the kicker. This is a laser cut paw in the name. Now, I know a lot of you don't have lasers. That's not a problem. You can still do this project. I will make available to you in the show notes the paw, and I'm also going to make it available to you to have these blanks and the hook. And the reason I'm doing that is that I get these in bulk. And the same thing with the hooks. So if I don't think most of you want to buy 50 hooks and a bunch of these blanks. So I can sell them to you in onesie, twosie sorts of things. So that way you can follow along and do this same project. So with this kit, you're going to get the pine 8-inch round piece of wood, and it's in nice shape. You'll get the paw, and you'll assemble that yourself, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Super easy to do. And you'll get the hook and a couple of screws that match. And I've trimmed these screws down a little bit because they were ridiculously long. I don't want them poking out the back of my project. So with this pine, again, it comes to me in really surprisingly good condition. Obviously, you're going to need to sand it. And you have a couple of choices here. You can either leave that straight edge or put a round over on it, some sort of a feature there. I like the round over personally, and I'm going to run over to my router table and do that round over right now. Okay, you know, if you don't have a router table, that's not a problem. You can use your handheld router and get the job done. And the router table just makes it a little bit easier. So let's get this round over done in time lapse. Okay, the roundovers are done. And if you look at my bandsaw, I have some more blanks. I ran those at the same time, just trying to use my time as best as possible. I'm trying to blast out a number of these all at once. So in doing so, I found a defect in one of the pieces of wood. It wasn't a glue-up problem. It was more of the wood just wasn't straight. So I don't think I can get any recourse from the vendor. I got 50 of these and one was bad. I'll use the wood for something else, so it's no big deal. I won't ship you a cracked piece of wood though. And you know, I'm sure somebody's going to go, well, why didn't you make these yourself? Again, at the price point, when I look at the labor involved to cut these out and use a flush trim bit, I just opted to go ahead and buy them. I want to get these things done, just banging them out quick. Okay, so I'm going to sand this now, 120, 180, and 220, and then I'll bring you back and we'll put some stain on this. So for this project, I'm using Minwax Ipswich Pine number 231. Super easy to apply. You grab yourself an old t-shirt, get it dabbed in there. They say to run it with the grain. Whatever. I don't know. Okay. And then they say after you get it nice and coated, let it sit for about 15 minutes and then wipe off any excess. I've found that you can wipe it off sooner than that. So do what you want to do. Okay, the stain's drying, so let's talk about dog paws. I found the file on Etsy and then kind of tinkered with it to figure out how it's going to be best utilized in size for this project. And ultimately, I cut them all out with my X-Tool P2S. I love that machine. If you're ever interested, let's talk about that. We can talk privately. But here's the thing. You'll get a base, and then you're going to get the template that overlays like so, and then you have the individual pieces, and those get a little dab of CA glue put on them and then dropped into here and let it sit for 30 seconds or whatever, and we're not using the activator. So remove the guide, and you now have a completed dog paw. Let's go back to the table over here and I'll show you exactly how to do it. It's so easy. It's really cool. All right, I've got my nasty bottle of CA glue. It's the medium, which is perfect. You don't want the thin. That would create some problems, I think, by potentially gluing your guide here to the base. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue down, lay it in there, give it a little squeeze, and just keep moving, doing the same thing. You don't want too much glue. There we go. Like I said, this is just ridiculously easy to do. And you can't mess it up unless you put too much glue down. All right. We'll let this sit, and then we'll go ahead and get some lacquer on this. The glue has been sitting for a bit. I'm just going to lift off that piece. There we go. Perfection. For most of these kinds of projects, I use this Rust-Oleum satin clear enamel. It works out really good. It dries quick, like 15 minutes and you're good to go. So I try to hit the angles to make sure I get good coverage. Well, I'm going to get the laser involved here and make a custom name. This is going to be Murphy, and that's for my neighbor. He just bought a couple of beautiful pieces of wall art and spent a fair chunk of money, so giving him a little gift here. And as you can see, this is repurposed wood. I've already used it on a project. I keep all my scrap for these very same projects because I can get that name just barely to fit in there. Let's get this cut. This is only going to take 1 minute and 51 seconds to cut out this name. I'm going to go ahead and spray these out right now using the template to hold the pieces in place, because I just discovered that they'll fly with this spray action. Looks good. Take this off, and we'll let everything dry for about 15 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and assemble this project. It's super easy. Let's get this project done. So we are going to go ahead and lay our paw over here just for a visual effect, and lay our hook up here, and we can get these fastened and we could be done, or we can add the custom name. If you guys end up wanting to get a kit from me, I'll include a name for you for free, just because I appreciate you following along with my YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up with the name, and it's very simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take some blue tape. Let me scoot this over so you can see. I'm going to take some blue tape, painter's tape, and just stick this over the letters. That way they don't drop out on me. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and get this thing registered. So again, I'm going to have my hook down here. I'm going to look at the grain pattern too. It looks like it's more running that horizontal line there, like so. So I'm registering directly from the paw to this template, and then we'll line this up in just a minute. So let me get a tape measure and a pencil. The board is 8 inches round, so I'm going to make a mark at 4 inches, which is 3 1/4 inches off the edge of my template. Okay. Now, with the paw, you can see this point right here, a little radius. I can easily line that up, And it won't be cockeyed because this is perfectly flush. Okay. And then, well, I think what I'll do is I'll come back and we'll do the hook last. So I'm going to turn it around so I can visually see this. Make sure I'm all lined up the way I want to be lined up. And we'll get this thing glued in. I'm going to double check my sides. I'm 1 inch from the edge of the board to the Y. And I'm just a hair over. I'm going to slide that over. All right, so I'm centered. Yep. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this. Well, in fact, let's do the paw first. I'll get my nasty bottle of CA glue. I've never been able to use an entire bottle before, but this is the first time. Kind of proud of that. See, not too much. And I'm going to go ahead and register that. My center line. There we go. Give it a little squeeze. And I'll hold that for a few seconds just to make sure that it adheres. Okay. Now I'm going to take this painter's tape off. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to roll out some tape here. So in case I knock things, I can re-register very quickly. So I've got my base. And I'm going to do the two sides. Okay. And I like where I'm at. I see my center line here. I'm going to mark that as well. Okay. Let's take the letters out. We'll put the template back down. I think for grins, I'm actually going to set this with tape so it doesn't move too much. Maybe overkill, but that's all right. Okay. In time lapse, well, in fact, off camera, I'll go ahead and get all of these down. But same as before, you don't want to apply too much glue because then you're gluing to your template, and that's bad. There we go. So how many of these can I do in a day? Well, I can do 3 in an hour. That gives you an idea. So you can really crank on these. Okay, I'm going to finish this off camera and we'll come back and mount that hook. Well, that worked out really slick. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and make a mark where I'm going to drill a pilot hole for each of these. And I will drill through the blue tape. And I've got a piece of tape marked. Let's get rid of the tape. Okay, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I've cut down these screws. They're just way, way too long. Get these set in and we're done. It's been a fun project. I hope you guys are liking this. Cool. Voila. Hey, that turned out really nice. And you know, it was fast, it's fun, profitable, and it makes for a great gift. So there you go. If you're interested in following along and doing the same project, in the show notes, I have a kit for you through my Etsy store. So check that out. If you're someone who just stumbled upon my YouTube channel, thanks, welcome. I appreciate you being here. And if you would, hit subscribe and hit the bell so you get all the notifications. Thank you for everybody else following along. You're helping make my dream come true. My name is Derek Smiley, and we'll see you next time.